On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks drop another clutch game to start the season. Bunch of blame to go around. I think Luka deserves some. I think Kid deserves some. Kyrie, others. We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have Kyrie.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
Almost done.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
And they don't deserve the intro. Not even this one. Today's episode, welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager at the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Subscribe to our newsletter. You can still like us, even if you don't like the Dallas Mavericks at the current moment. So check the QR code, the link in the description for any way that you can subscribe to the show. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet. You'll get started with a $150 in bonus bets. If your first $5 bet wins, visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me for the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, the downbeat brother. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
I think we should run this podcast like the Mavs play games where we just like
get a slow start,
win or weave in and out, where it's like 10-minute stretches where we're like, all right, we're going to try hard. And then another 10-minute stretch where we just sit in silence. And then another 10-minute stretch. Okay, now we're going to try hard again.
Here we go. This is the slow start. We're starting slow.
This team's been a lot of fun to start the season, man. They play a fun brand of basketball.
We'll talk. I mean, there's a bunch of, like I said, the Mavs play the Warriors. They lose to the Warriors in the clutch. Had a lead late again. To stop me if you've heard this one before. There's a ton of blame to go around. We'll talk about it all. We'll talk about the refs' calls at the end. We'll talk about Gafford playing instead of Lively late. We'll talk about a bunch of different things that happened in this game. But I'm going to start here because in the NBA, it's all about stars. It's about your star player, what he does, right? We watched what Jokic just did the other night against the Mavs. He goes off late, and the Nuggets win that game, right? We've watched all these players. We just watched Steph go off for his team late in the game. Your stars have to show up when it matters. And for Luka Doncic right now, he showed up in the first three quarters. Awesome. Carried them. Was the only thing going for them offensively for the first three quarters, right? Like 31 points all in the first three quarters. Carrying them, did a ton on offense the whole half the game. I think I even saw you tweet like somebody else has got to make a shot besides Luka because it just wasn't happening. So give him his credit there. And then the fourth quarter comes along and he didn't have anything left. Nothing saved left. And I don't know if it's his injury. He's been dealing with that left groin strain. He was probable going into this game. He's on the injury report again. He's been dealing with that, going all the way back to the playoffs last year. If it's that, if it's conditioning coming into the season, I was texting Isaac during the game. It looked like he was in quicksand. He was running uphill a lot of time, and he didn't have anything left in that fourth quarter. And so when the ball was given him on offense, 0 of 3 from the field in the fourth quarter, and on defense, just over and over, the Warriors were just hunting him over and over again. And there's a bunch of other reasons why the Mavs lost this game, but I'm going to start with Luka because it rises and falls on the star if he wants to be considered one of the best or the best player in the NBA, and he's not right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a putrid fourth quarter by Luka. I mean, he was good in the first half. I thought really good.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was great defensively in this game. This is a bad matchup for him defensively.
Yeah.
This Warriors team where you can't, like, there's no just taking plays off or rotating once and then that just kind of being what you do. Like, you have to be consistently in motion. And I thought he had multiple times where he got burned on ball. There's a lot of guys on the Mavs who got burned on ball, but also times where he fell asleep. And then times where, and this is just sneakily one of the more frustrating things Luka does, times where instead of putting a body on guys for box outs, he's just kind of standing there waiting for a ball to bounce into his arms. Like, was it 19 offensive rebounds for the Warriors, 18 offensive rebounds, 9 for Kevon Looney by himself. Like, that's just unbelievable.
Felt like the 2022 Western Conference Finals again.
Yep, it was a flashback right there. But yeah, man, I agree that down the stretch, man, Steph made play after play and Draymond as well. Like I tweeted that the Warriors stars showed up and everyone's like, you mean Steph? No, Draymond played like a star tonight. I mean, he was phenomenal. Those two were making play after play down the stretch, and the Mavs stars just weren't ready to answer the call. And Luka just a very, very difficult one-legged fadeaway from the free throw line against Wiggins, where he had to put like an absurd arc on it just to even get the shot off without it being blocked. Man, I mean, that's just another brutal loss.
And to me, that signifies that he just didn't have anything. He didn't have anything left, right? Like he had to force a shot like that where it's just this high level of difficulty, not creating any advantage at all. Has to stop, pivot, fade away, turn back, and all that. And then, I mean, the last play of the game too. You want to talk about didn't get a good shot at all, basically. Like that very last shot was a really bad shot. The Mavs again can't get a good shot off at the end of a game. It would have tied the game, and there wasn't a lot of time. There wasn't a lot of time left, though.
I'm going to defend them right there because the Warriors would have fouled. Like that's what he had to do. He had to run into a shot like that. Like there was no other shot that he was going to get. So I will defend Luka there because if he throws a hit-ahead pass to somebody, they're getting fouled immediately. So I think that one was just bad circumstances, but we can easily pick apart any of the things that they did before that.
Fair. Yeah, absolutely fair. But yeah, I'm going to start with that because I think that, and again, I don't know if it's his conditioning or his injury, but he just did not have anything to give. And you mentioned this is a bad matchup for him. They make him run around a bunch, and switching on to Curry is not easy. You saw it over and over again, but Curry had some left at the end of this game, right? And was able to give it. And he's 36. Luka should be in his prime right now. And man, the start to this season has been so frustrating for the both of us that have spent all offseason saying, all right, this is the chance for Luka to become the best player in the NBA, to prove that he is that guy. For everybody, I still had Jokic as the number one player in the NBA throughout the offseason, got a bunch of crap from Mavs fans and said, how dare you not say that Luka is the best player and all that. And we're seeing right now that it is not the case. Luka is not the best player in the NBA right now. And the level that is expected of him is to be that. And if that is the case, then you've got to show up and you've got to be you've got to help the Mavs win in crunch time. And that has not happened. The Mavs have lost 3 games in a row now by 3, 2, and 1 points.
Yikes. Tough. I mean, just it's I want to watch my words here, but the
this
idea
is the part in the game where the
Mavs
didn't score for 4 minutes. Like, are we
yeah, that's where we're at right now. But no, at this point in time, man, I thought it was like almost a foregone conclusion that this would be the Luka year. Like it was just everything was set up. I think like Jokic should have to miss an insane period of time at this point. Like that's just kind of where it's at. I don't. That's more so like what
bridge that gap.
Yeah, but that's more so like what Jokic is doing. But man, I don't. I'm trying to see a replay of the last like that mid-range shot Luka got because it looked like they were running a very specific play that they do all the time. The little Spain pick and roll action where Luka was actually going to screen the screener, but I can't find the full clip because I don't think he even made contact on the screen. But I don't know, just really frustrating play down the stretch, man.
That whole thing you just did right there, trying to find a clip in the middle of a podcast and narrating it, is like a broken play for the Mavs. If we're continuing this metaphor of us being the Mavs, like there's a broken play, shot clock violation. Didn't get a shot. It was
good. It was good defense by the Warriors. It was good defense by the Warriors.
And the Warriors played good defense. They have played good defense. And this Warriors team, they started the season with a bunch of like wins against real soft opponents, and then they beat the Celtics and they beat the Thunder. Now they beat this Mavericks team, whatever you want to consider that a win as. And yeah, this Warriors team is interesting. They're pretty deep. They've got, Curry is leading them and Draymond is leading them on defense. It's like they've got the two captains on both ends, and it's really working for them.
Yeah, no, they're a really good team, and they played a good game of basketball tonight. So it's not, losing to them on the road by 1 is not some like indictment on your team. But it is just the fact that it's 3 in a row and you've lost 3 in a row in the exact same fashion. And it is you were trailing in the first quarter. You trailed at the end of the first quarter again. Like
they only went down by 9 in this one. Only down by 9 in the first quarter at one point.
I had the tweet written out like, here comes another double-digit first quarter deficit for this team. Like, how is this even possible to continuously find yourself into that?
They fought it back. All right, we've talked enough about Luka. Coming up, let's get into the other reasons why the Mavs lost this game. Bunch of stuff down the stretch, bunch of stuff during this game we'll get into and talk about reasons why the Mavericks dropped another clutch game. We'll talk about that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds that you can use to get in on the action and check out NBA Cup games. Bunch of stuff that you can do with these NBA Cup games. They've been pretty fun. This Mavs game, even though it was sad and now we're in darkness, was a fun game. Check out the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It gives you everything you need to take your live bets and place them all in the NFL and the NBA all in one place. And right now, if you you put down a $5 bet and you win that $5 bet, you'll get $150 in bonus bets if that bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and never miss anything that's happening on FanDuel. Go see what is available. Mavs still have NBA Finals odds. Their NBA Cup odds, though, are going to go down. The Warriors are plus 1,000 now. Knicks plus 650 after their win today. So interesting odds there. Again, check it all out at FanDuel.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Check the QR code if you're watching this show or the links in the description for a bunch of different ways to follow us, subscribe to a bunch of different things that we're doing here. And go check out the Slightly Biased YouTube channel. Great stuff all the time from him over there and all that with the thumbs up even.
Woo-hoo.
All right, let's get into the rest. We're sitting in darkness because the Mavs lose again. We should keep doing this. We should only do dark backgrounds if they lose, and we should only do this. Maybe this is the new Let It Ride since people don't want to let it ride anymore.
Yeah.
Mavs lose 120 to 117. Talked about Luka enough. If you go through some other reasons, the Mavs got screwed by the refs again in this one. Two plays at the end of this game where you're just like, really, again, two more plays where Gafford gets called for an offensive foul, just such a light foul, and Draymond's foot was in the restricted circle. That was with 2:47 left. And then Curry absolutely fouled Grimes on that three. Curry knew it himself as soon as he did it, but that is an aside for me.
No, I have to state on business. I really think that'd be a weird foul for them to call on that Grimes three. Like, if I don't want them calling that Nurkic foul, I really wouldn't want them to call that Steph foul. The offensive foul was bad, but hey, you could have saved yourself if you had a challenge and you were 2-8 on challenges so far this season.
Yes.
They have to. There needs to be like a rule. If Luka wants to challenge, we say no. Like it's an automatic foul.
Yeah, 2-8, and I think Kid is going with. I think he's going with the players over and over again. It seems like with these, but that Draymond Green, the offensive foul on Gafford was a stretch that was just brutal at the end of this game, where I was just wondering, why is Gafford in this game instead of Dereck Lively? Because he gets the offensive foul right there. He gets the goes down the other end, 2:15 left in the game, gets blocked by Draymond Green. Brutal shot, and just collapses to the floor. Like, you're not going to get a foul call in that moment. That was just a brutal sequence right there for Daniel Gafford, and it just made me think, like, what are we doing? Why is Dereck Lively not in this game instead of Daniel Gafford? I thought that was another reason. If they would have switched that, then maybe that would have been better for him earlier.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, they like Gafford almost dictated the game. Like, down the stretch, it was like, Gafford, you're going to have the ball in like every big moment. Yeah. Okay, I guess. I mean, Gafford had a pretty decent game, I thought, scoring wise. But yeah, that was a tough stretch. And sure, that was a bad call on the charge, absolutely. But I don't know. That's the risk you run if your offense is like, here you go, Daniel Gafford. My thing is this: it's like, you have Luka and Kyrie. Those two by themselves give you so much lineup flexibility down the stretch of games. We have our scores. Okay, we can plug and play now who we want, defenders, like whatever we need, we can figure it out. Like, they don't do that up until this point. Like, I don't know. Lively, I'm happy Lively is back. I didn't think this was his best game defensively. I thought there was moments where he was getting, he was getting cooked a little bit on the perimeter by some of these.
Yeah.
D'Anthony Melton got him a few times. Buddy Hield got him a few times on these like hesitations and up fakes. But I don't know. This feels like Gafford was playing good up until that stretch. So I don't want to be like super, Monday morning quarterback here and just be like, why did they do this? Because if they don't call that charge and Gafford gets an and one or something, we're like, oh my, Gafford, I can't believe he closed the game out like that.
He did get an and one with 4:30 left, and then he got another. He did hit
I thought
another.
That was the game.
another shot a little bit later. Oh, I mean, that was a 7-0 run by the Mavericks. They were up 112 to 105. They were even up, Gafford chucked that one shot in that was just a prayer of a weird, like in air jumper with 3:30 left. It was 114-108. I thought that was the game right there. But
you can't lose a game when you're up 7 in the last 4 minutes.
Brutal. That's where we are. All right. So you didn't like any of my reasons. Why do you think the Mavs lost this game?
Again, they've just like pick and choose how much attention they want to pay. Their attention to detail wanes from time to time. Like it's going to happen. Of course, no team's like super locked in for 48 straight minutes a game, every game of the season. Right. But, it's just they fall asleep off ball way too often. And I knew that was going to be a problem tonight. But they did dig deep and they played good defense down the stretch. And they really did a great job picking up, rotating once, twice, 3 times because that's what the Warriors do. But man, whenever I know it's hard whenever you have Kevon Looney, who's one of the best offensive rebounders of like the last decade. Like that's what he does. He's genuinely one of the best offensive rebounders in the entire NBA. I know it feels like it's only against the Mavericks, but that's like why he's in the league basically still. I get it's hard if you're a smaller player and just through, rotating and switching and stuff like that, you find yourself against Kevon Looney. But man, this team has to do a better job rebounding the basketball. Like they just have to. The effort has to be higher when it comes to rebounding. It takes a team. It's a team effort sometimes. There's too much standing around and just praying the ball falls into your lap. That's not how it works. When you're going up against a team like the Warriors who are well coached, who fly around, who play hard,
athletes,
hustle, who do the little things incredibly well, you have to do that as well. You have to reciprocate that. And tonight was just not there for huge chunks of the game.
To me, that was the difference between Lively and Gafford was rebounding.
That's always the difference.
I thought that was the big thing because I talked about in the show yesterday, Lively coming back was a sign that things will get better because Lively has been, incrementally, percentage-wise, a better rebounder than Gafford so far, but we just see it with our eyes. He's a better rebounder than Gafford is. And I thought you get a couple different rebounds here and there late in the game. The game changes in your favor. Can we talk about Klay Thompson here? Because it was Klay Thompson's return. You want to talk about one thing that went good for the Mavericks and went well for the Mavericks? He hit 6 threes, 22 points, 3 assists. He had some really good plays. Played 33 minutes. Got the video tribute. The hats were cool. All that. I mean, I was really happy for Klay. We would have been over the moon excited for Klay and all this if the Mavs had pulled out that game.
And not only that, but he hit a big 3 to put up the Mavs up, I think 5 with 5 minutes left. It was a really weird game for Klay because he hit some big shots, but some of his misses were horrible.
So bad. He had an air ball.
He got blocked on a 3. There was a couple of just horrible misses, but yeah, he played really well. I mean, that's 6 of 12 from 3. That is say less. We will take that every single time. Obviously, that is automatically a good game for Klay. That's what you brought him in here to do, and he did it. So yeah, that could have gone one of 2 ways. I felt like Klay was either going to play really, really well or horribly.
Yes.
I think that there was just a lot of super.
No,
and I would not have been upset at all if Klay had a stinker tonight. I'm sure that was super emotional and weird and all of this other stuff.
He gets off the bus or however he got to the arena and walks through a procession of every single employee of the Golden State Warriors in the arena in a line, and we're clapping for him and cheering for him all the way in. I mean, and then you get the video tribute, you get Draymond running into you before the game, you get Steph and him. Steph was supposed to say a couple words before the game, and they decided secretly before the game that Klay didn't want him to do that. So there's all this stuff going on behind the scenes, and then all the hats and everything. It probably was emotional for Klay. He tried to downplay it the whole week leading up to this, but Kyrie was like, I've done this. It's emotional. You can't you can't downplay this as much as you want to. But it was a great game from Klay. I was with you. I thought that it was going to go one of 2 ways, and it went the best way for him.
Well, you don't really see these very often where it's very, very cordial. They both left on good terms. It felt like both sides I feel like are happy with where they are moving forward, and there wasn't any bad blood really.
Wasn't like Kyrie going back to Boston.
Right. Kyrie going back to Boston, or even Cleveland at first was weird. Brooklyn, I mean, Kyrie's former stops aren't very fond of him anymore. I don't know if Cleveland's warmed up over the years, but yeah.
I think it's still cold up there. It's November.
Yeah, agreed. Man. Sorry, Klay. Sorry
That
that the rest of the team decided that they were just like didn't want it tonight.
That joke that I just gave was as a bricked 3 for just continuing the metaphor of us being the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, 33%.
What did you think about
not
Klay?
even.
Klay getting the first shot, posting up Steph Curry, and Klay going back and forth. Like that was really cool to see. Well, I know the Mavs have lost some of these games, but we've seen some really cool stuff. Kyrie and KD going back and forth in the Suns game. We saw Luka and Jokic going back and forth in the Nuggets game, and now we've seen Klay and Steph guarding each other in this game. I mean, that's some pretty cool NBA stuff.
No, the last 3 games have been fun. Like if I were just a neutral NBA fan, I'd be like, man, I got to tune into Mavs games. Like these get crazy down the stretch.
These guys are
but as
nuts.
a Mavs fan, it is frustrating. I mean, if they just win one of these, we feel differently, But man, losing all 3 is just the reason why. It's just so it is early season and they played well. I did a whole deep dive video where I looked at every Luka possession entering this game tonight from this season, and I left it thinking, you know what? When this team figures it out, they're going to be good. Like they do a lot of things and they have a lot of talent, and a lot of pieces. And there's just some stuff missing that once it clicks, it'll be good. The problem is we've done this 2 of the last 3 years, man. It's hard. It's hard having to play like a 60 win pace over the last 40 games of the season just to be the 4 or the 5 seed.
Yeah.
Like they cannot put themselves in that position again. Well, they got to figure it out.
The way they play games is the way they play the season, right? Where you go down early and then you make a comeback. Like they had a 10-point lead in the second quarter of this game where that felt like, oh, all of a sudden they figured it out, and then they go down again, and then in the fourth quarter they make a rousing comeback, go on a 7-0 run, 21-9 to start the fourth quarter. Like they were balling at the end of this, and then it just comes crashing down because you used up everything you had to get to that point. Coming up, let's get into some more about this game. Let's talk about Kyrie. He didn't take enough shots. That's continuing to be a trend. We'll talk about that with Kyrie. We'll talk about some other contributions. We got Quentin Grimes. And I'm going to talk about that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, you know there's going to be some kind of BS that they're just going to throw out there, and you're going to be like, wait, I thought that I was getting this. What kind of deal? But then there's all these stipulations and all that. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and all that. I've got one right now. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text. Remember when we used to have to pay per text? That was wild. Delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this customer service offer for your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That to cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower than 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional fees, taxes, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly. Talking about this Mavs game. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. Quinton Grimes. We got Quinton Grimes in this game. First quarter, kid finally heard Twitter. He logged on. He pulled up the Bird app, RIP Bird app, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to give Mavs Twitter what they want, because Grimes has become that player that's like, oh, if only they would play Quinton Grimes more, they would win these games. And he has become like the poster child of that so far. And he played 28 minutes, hit 2 threes, 6 rebounds, couple of offensive rebounds, got a steal and assist on that Klay 3 that was big late. And I thought he chased Steph around pretty good for most of the game.
Yeah, I thought Quentin Grimes was legit awesome tonight. And you saw those defensive flashes where it's like, okay, this is far and away the best on-ball defender the Mavericks have on their roster right now. Who's healthy at least, because I don't know if Exum's up there. So
PJ, probably too.
Yeah, but Grimes gives you like a point of attack, a level
it's a different kind of PJ with the length, Grimes with the
right, the size, of course. But I don't know, man. He's just he provides what you need more than any other guard you have on your roster. So he has to be in the rotation, man. He just has to.
When we did our bold predictions in the offseason, one of mine was that Grimes will be the most impactful new guy on the Mavericks. And that was a big leap because there was Klay, there was Najee, I guess Dinwiddie. That's not the case. And he's not even on the ballot anymore. But with Quentin Grimes, I just saw, you see the vision of like, he was a really good defender with New York, and they don't have guys to defend point of attack like this. Like, I think he would be the guy with foot speed that can chase around the Steph Currys, the Trae Youngs, the Damian Lillards, like the guys like that the Mavs are going to face all throughout this season. And nobody else can do that. I mean, Kyrie is probably the best one outside of Quentin Grimes right now. Because Najee you can't have Najee guard point of attack and wings if PJ's out. I mean, you just don't have enough defenders in that way. And so I think he just has to play. And you saw it in this game. And I thought he played well. And hopefully Kid thinks that 2 of 4 from 3 is hitting enough shots, because that was what Kid said the prerequisite for Grimes getting minutes. He said he has to hit a shot first, and he hit 2 shots. So.
I mean, that 3 he hit with 20 seconds left was pretty cold-blooded.
It was huge. I thought
back,
that shot to me, I was like, oh my gosh, did Curry and all them do all that like screaming and yelling and celebrating, and all of a sudden they're going to lose this game on like a Kyrie, like a Kyrie 3? Like that was absolutely insane. Yeah. If Curry had missed one of those free throws and it goes down to the other end and Kyrie hits a 3, and all of a sudden that would have been absolutely insane. Speaking of Kyrie, 21 points, 8 of 13 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. They were really taking away the 3. He had 6 assists. He had 5 turnovers in this game. He helped a lot in the fourth quarter. He came out and had 9 points. And I thought that he turned it on and got them some big buckets when they needed. But in the way this game was going, where it's all offense, all gas, no breaks really, you need him to take more than 13 shots.
I mean, you would like for him to take more than 3 shots in the fourth. He made all 3 of them, so he had 9 points, which looks good. But he only took 3 shots in the fourth quarter. I mean, Luka only took 3 shots in the fourth quarter. So you look at those 2 numbers,
including that last one.
Yeah, including that last one, which I don't even really count as a real shot. So then you look at those numbers, and you're like, who was shooting the ball?
Shooting the whole fourth quarter?
Like, what was happening there? But I will say it did look like
Gafford. They're running the offense through Gafford.
It was Gafford ball. But it looked like the Warriors were playing Kyrie similarly to how like the Thunder did, where it wasn't necessarily hard doubles, but they were overloading a side of the court. And I thought Kyrie did a pretty decent job playing off of that. You have to figure out ways to get him more shots, though, just naturally. And yeah, I mean, this has been like the Kyrie experience, where there are just games where you leave it and you're just like, Kyrie needs more shots than that. Like, he has to take more than 13 shots in a game like this. And he had 5 turnovers as well. Some rough turnovers for him. Some rough turnovers for the entire team. I thought there were some lazy passes in there as well. Like, this Warriors team forces a ton of turnovers. That's what they do really, really well. So you just have to be a little bit more on point. And yeah, I would love to just see more shots. I mean, he had 3 assists in the fourth quarter as well. So,
18 turnovers for the Mavs is a lot for them.
That is a lot. That's a huge number for the Mavs.
Definitely. Yeah. When Draymond is running around, it doesn't have to guard a couple guys here and there. It doesn't have to guard Najee, to the 3-point line. Hardy is kind of floating. Dinwiddie's kind of floating. You're like, all right, he doesn't have to guard one of these guys, or I guess whoever else he was guarding. Like, he could just float around, and all of a sudden he loads up that side. Kyrie likes to start from left or right. He doesn't like to go north or south. He likes to start from the sides and come in, and we see him be really successful doing that. But all of a sudden Draymond's sitting there, and they send help over, and then they rotate back. And I think one of the things that stood out in this game is the Mavs don't have athletes, right? Like, the Mavs just don't have high-level NBA athletes. You lost a couple of those in Derrick Jones Jr., in Josh Green, and I guess, and a little in Tim Hardaway, which, by the way, I hope Tim Hardaway is doing all right. He took a terrible fall and was pulled out in a wheelchair in that Detroit game tonight. But the Mavs have like some, they have cerebral, like, guys that can do a lot, but are not as quick or as explosive. And the Warriors just have explosive guys. Talk about Trace Jackson Davis, Kuminga. Man, I mean, like, they got him, and it showed in this game.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew that going into the season, this team would lack a little bit in the athleticism department. They're making it work in other ways. But yeah, that was apparent tonight. And it also doesn't help, like you mentioned, like Najee, this was a bad Najee game. Najee has to shoot threes. Like, that's not only going to be a problem that will haunt them in some regular season matchups, but assuming the Mavs make the postseason, that will kill them. Like that will kill. Well, I mean, you just have to preface it. They're under 500, 11 games into the season.
Don't do this. Don't do this to me right now. I've already been through this.
Assuming they make the playoffs, assuming they're like, all right, guys, remember we're a good basketball team. Okay, we'll win games. But no, teams are just gonna sag off Najee, and it's gonna be hard.
And you talked about you did a video on Luka and went through it. I did a whole episode yesterday where I was talking about Luka is average scoring out of the pick and roll and out of isolation. He's never been that his whole career, and I don't think that will last and continue. So there are signs like it'll get better for the Dallas Mavericks. This will be a good team when they figure it out. But right now they're not doing. They haven't figured out a bunch of different things. They've kind of fallen into what they are right now.
Now, and let's compare this to that stretch after the trade deadline last year, where I got to go to ESPN.com.
Are we gonna fire Kid again?
Steph's 65-second hype video after making that shot. That was one of the longest times I've seen a camera stay on a player as they're just going through every emote they have in their bag. I was like, are we going to a commercial or
no?
But anyways, what was it that they went 2-4, 2-5 over that horrible stretch?
1-5.
1-5. So during that,
some of the worst defense we've ever seen.
Some of the worst defense you've ever seen. They were getting killed. They were getting murdered. At least we could say in this stretch they are competitive against what we think are going to be good teams. Two of which were on the road in Denver, which is a notoriously incredibly difficult place to play, and also Golden State. Also, when the Warriors are good, a very difficult place to play. So I mean, losing these in a vacuum is not the end of the world at all. It just sucks that you're stringing these together. It also sucks that from a fan's perspective, when stuff like this happens, you're 5-6. Guess what? The Warriors, which was this is the most annoying thing in the world. The Warriors
got the thumbs up.
I can't figure out how to turn this thing off.
I'll tell you how to do it.
Okay, thank you. The Warriors who are the Timberwolves who have had a slow start to the season. Like, if you want to look at it, you've probably lost. Your 6 losses have been to the 6 best teams you've played. At least the way that these teams look to start the season. That's never a good feeling because the Mavs play the Jazz on Thursday night. Let's say the Mavs win by 17 points. What's really going to be the takeaway? Like, well, I mean, can we win against a good team next? Like, it's hard to feel really good whenever you've lost all the good teams you played. But their schedule gets really easy. Like, just straight up, their schedule is easy over the next 15 games. And I have a challenge to the Mavericks. It's time to stop messing around. Your expectations are higher. We're not doing this cute little, hey, we're 21-20. Time to turn it on. Like, we want to be like you're supposed to be better than that this season. I want you guys to win bare minimum 11 games over the next 15.
Yeah, well, their losses have been to Phoenix twice. They're 9-2. They're number 1 in the West. To Golden State, they're 9-2, tied for number 1 in the West. To Denver, they're 7-3, 4th in the West. Rockets 7-4, 5th in the West. Right, like those are some of their losses right there. And then the Pacers
aren't bad.
Pacers 5-5, and they're 5th in the East because the East is insane hellscape over there.
Oh, they've dropped to 5. Well, that's good because they used to be 3.
Well, because the Magic are 6-6. They're also 500, but
the Magic are. I underestimated that. My God, the Magic are in 3rd in the East. They got to get rid of conferences, man. This is embarrassing. Honestly, the East is an embarrassment.
If the Mavs were 500 right now, they would still be 11th in the West, and they're 11th.
The Mavericks would be 6th in the East right this second.
Yeah, Brooklyn Nets are 6th right now. They're gonna have a look in the mirror moment and be like, guys, what are we doing?
Yes, they're way too good for their own good.
5
they
and
are
6,
way too good.
Way too good.
They are though.
There you go. That's the reasons why the Mavs lost this game. That's the Klay Thompson stuff and all that. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, listening every day. Check the QR code for more ways to subscribe and follow the show and to stick with us. We'll be back with more post-game shows. I's going to have the show with you tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.